For more than 20 years, America watched them stand inches apart under the stage lights, voices intertwined, eyes locked, harmonies so intimate it felt almost intrusive to listen. Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn swore it was just music, just professionalism, just two married stars giving fans what they paid to hear. But audiences over 50, those who understood body language long before social media dissected it, knew better. The pauses between their lyrics lasted a second too long. The smiles lingered. The tension was not rehearsed. It was lived. And then, just before his death, Conway made a confession to his daughter, one sentence that quietly confirmed what millions had suspected for decades. If what he said was true, it means the greatest love story in country music was never the one on the record, it was the one they never dared admit. When Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn stepped into the studio together in 1971, it wasn't framed as destiny, it was framed as strategy. Two established country stars, two loyal fan bases, one duet meant to test the waters. But the moment they recorded "After the Fire Is Gone," something shifted that no executive could have engineered. The vocals didn't just blend, they collided. There was tension in the pauses, ache in the phrasing, and a realism that felt almost uncomfortable in its honesty. The song shot to #1 and won a Grammy, but the awards were only the visible effect. The real cause of the explosion was emotional recognition. Both artists had fought their way through hardship. Conway, born Harold Jenkins, had reinvented himself after early rock and roll success faded, clawing his way into country relevance through discipline and relentless touring. Loretta, raised in the poverty of Butcher Hollow, Kentucky, had turned personal struggle into lyrical power. When they met creatively, they didn't see a co-star, they saw a mirror. That recognition built immediate trust, and trust allowed vulnerability. Audiences sensed it before critics did. They weren't watching a gimmick, they were witnessing two people who understood each other's scars. That understanding translated into authenticity, and authenticity is dangerous because when something feels real, people start asking whether it is real. And from that first hit forward, the question lingered like a slow-burning fuse. Were Conway and Loretta simply singing about forbidden love, or were they living dangerously close to it? Loretta Lynn had never been a woman who waited for permission. By the time she began recording with Conway, she had already shattered industry expectations with blunt, fearless songwriting about marriage, desire, and female frustration. She wasn't decorative, she was defiant. And yet, when she stood beside Conway Twitty, something different emerged. She didn't compete with him. She didn't need to. He met her at eye level. That equality was the spark. In an industry that often treated women as secondary voices, Conway respected her musicianship. He didn't try to overpower her phrasing or dominate the spotlight. Because he treated her as an equal, Loretta relaxed into the music. And because she relaxed, the emotional charge intensified. Their duets felt less like performances and more like conversations between two adults who understood compromise, temptation, and consequence. During years when her marriage faced turbulence and personal tragedies threatened to derail her spirit, Conway became a steady presence. He listened. He encouraged her writing. He defended her when Nashville insiders questioned her bold lyrics. Cause created effect. Emotional safety deepened connection. Connection amplified chemistry. Chemistry ignited speculation. Fans over 50 remember watching them and thinking, that's not just acting. There was a softness in her eyes when she looked at him, one she rarely displayed elsewhere. But Loretta never fed the rumors. She protected the boundary fiercely. And that restraint didn't diminish the tension, it magnified it. Conway Twitty understood reinvention better than most. From early rock hits like It's Only Make Believe to his dominance in country music, he had rebuilt himself through grit and calculated risk. On stage, he projected confidence, smooth baritone, controlled charm, effortless masculinity. But those who knew him well saw the complexity beneath the polish. Fame came with pressure. Marriages carried strain. Touring demanded constant emotional stamina. With Loretta, he found relief from that pressure. She didn't need the image she saw the man. That recognition stripped away pretense. He could laugh freely around her. He could admit fatigue. Because she understood struggle firsthand, he didn't have to explain himself. That comfort created emotional intimacy, and emotional intimacy is often more powerful than physical closeness. Yet Conway was deeply traditional. He valued vows. He valued reputation. He knew the cost of scandal in the tightly woven fabric of country music culture. So when feelings intensified, he chose discipline over impulse. The cause was character. The effect was unresolved longing. Fans sensed the tension on stage, the way he leaned slightly closer during certain lyrics, the way his voice softened when harmonizing with her. It wasn't theatrical exaggeration. It was controlled emotion. And control, when tested repeatedly over years of touring, can become its own silent burden. As Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn dominated the charts with hit after hit, the rumors became impossible to ignore. In an era before viral gossip blogs, speculation traveled through fan clubs, backstage whispers, and country radio chatter. Married duet partners weren't supposed to look that natural, singing about desire and heartbreak. The public wanted clarity, but clarity never came. Every lingering glance became analyzed. Every shared laugh fueled suspicion. Reporters asked leading questions. Industry insiders hinted at chemistry. But there was never proof, only perception. And perception can be more powerful than evidence. The cause of the relentless rumors was simple. Authenticity cannot be manufactured. Their performances felt lived in because they were emotionally invested. But investment does not automatically equal betrayal. According to those closest to them, the boundary held. They poured emotion into the music rather than into scandal. That choice preserved families, careers, and reputations, but it also created a sense of incompleteness that fans could feel. By the mid-1980s, as new country stars emerged, their duet collaborations slowed. The spotlight shifted. Yet the mystique endured. The unanswered question became part of their brand. Had they sacrificed personal happiness for loyalty? Or was the mystery itself the reason their partnership remained untarnished? In the early 1990s, Conway Twitty began reflecting more openly about his life. Decades of touring had taken a physical toll, and health challenges forced him to confront mortality. Success no longer felt urgent. Truth did. In private conversations with his daughter, Kathy, he revisited relationships that had shaped him, and inevitably, Loretta's name surfaced. What he said was simple, but seismic. She was the love I never got to keep. It wasn't scandalous. It wasn't bitter. It was reflective, almost tender. Cause and effect crystallized in that confession. Years of restraint had protected his family and hers, but they had also required him to accept that timing and loyalty sometimes outweigh passion. He never claimed they were lovers. He never painted himself as tragic. Instead, he acknowledged what many suspected. There had been love, disciplined and contained, and that containment defined their legacy. When he died suddenly in 1993 from an abdominal aneurysm, the world lost a legend. But those who knew of his private confession understood that something else had died too, the possibility that the story might one day be spoken aloud by both of them. After Conway Twitty's death, Loretta Lynn responded not with spectacle, but with silence. She withdrew from appearances. She avoided elaborate tributes. For a woman who had built her career on fearless honesty, that restraint felt significant. Grief often reveals depth, and hers ran deep. When she eventually spoke of him, it was in fragments. She mentioned how singing with him felt like home. She recalled backstage laughter and quiet encouragement, but she never directly confirmed his admission. Instead, she let the music carry the weight. Observers noticed subtle changes in her performances. The ease she once displayed in duets seemed harder to find. It wasn't a lack of talent, it was the absence of a specific connection. Chemistry of that magnitude cannot be recreated on demand. The cause was irreplaceability. The effect was a quiet ache embedded in later performances. Her silence was not denial. It was preservation. By refusing to sensationalize what they had shared, she honored it. And in doing so, she ensured that the bond remained dignified rather than dissected. In the final analysis, Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn left behind more than chart-topping duets. They left behind a study in emotional restraint. Their story endures not because of scandal, but because of discipline. They demonstrated that profound connection does not always demand possession. Sometimes it demands sacrifice. Their shared hardship created recognition. Recognition built trust. Trust ignited chemistry. Chemistry fueled rumors. Loyalty imposed silence. And silence preserved legacy. That chain of cause and effect explains why their music still resonates so powerfully with audiences who understand complexity in relationships. Conway's confession humanized him. Loretta's silence dignified her. Together, they embodied a love story that remained incomplete by choice, not by accident, and perhaps that is why it lingers so vividly in American memory. Some love stories explode and burn out. Theirs did something rarer. It endured unfinished, unresolved, and unforgettable. In the end, the story of Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn is not about scandal, nor is it about a romance confirmed or denied. It is about something far more powerful: restraint, respect, and the kind of love that chooses dignity over drama. In a world that often rewards exposure and confession, they chose silence, and that silence became their legacy. For those of us who grew up in the golden age of country music, their duets were more than chart toppers. They were emotional time capsules. They captured the tension between loyalty and longing, between commitment and connection. Conway's quiet admission that Loretta was the love I never got to keep was not a headline-grabbing revelation. It was a human one. It reminded us that even legends wrestle with timing, responsibility, and sacrifice. Loretta's decision never to sensationalize that bond showed equal strength. She understood that some relationships are too sacred to dissect publicly. The lesson here is timeless. Not every deep connection is meant to be possessed. Not every love story is meant to be completed in the way we imagine. Sometimes the most profound relationships are the ones handled with discipline. Conway and Loretta proved that character is revealed not only in what we pursue, but in what we protect. They preserved their families, their reputations, and the purity of their music. And because of that, their harmonies still feel authentic decades later. Their legacy lives on in every note of "After the Fire Is Gone," in every performance that still gives longtime fans chills. It lives on as a reminder that love can exist without chaos, that chemistry can be honored without destruction, and that restraint can be just as powerful as passion. If this story moved you, if it brought back memories of an era when music carried real emotional weight, make sure you like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and tell us, did you always sense there was more between them? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more deep, untold stories about the legends who shaped American entertainment. Because sometimes, the greatest stories aren't the loudest, they're the ones that echo quietly for generations.